evening. Blimey, that started soon, didn't it? Hey!
We're here.
To another exciting show. And we've got, we don't need any introduction. We've got Deb, the voice of Hats.
Deb, the voice
of Hats from her own independent state of Voice of Hats.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Yorkshire Deb, who's from, was it Leeds Bardos or something, is it?
Leeds Bardos, yes.
Leeds Bardos. And of course, there's myself from Fockham Hall. And I was, before we came on air, you see, I was actually saying that between you and I suffer from inland revenue intolerance. It's something that it just sort of breaks out occasionally.
Yeah.
You know, you feel like smacking a taxman in the face, that type of thing. You know, it's I don't. Do you know, could I get acupuncture for it or something like that, or tablets? You know,
Hi, Kevin. That's my friend Kevin.
Anyway,
I don't know if you can. I think you need meditation or a really fun.
Yeah.
For the taxman, I think.
Well, we've got some fantastic info tonight. Is there anybody, Tom and Dick, we could do a call out for? I'm just thinking, Ron, you're a bit better this week, so can you pass yourself over here so we can healing stuff? With Colin, I think he might be all right. Yeah, I think he's okay. I think he's in the chat room. And Sebastian, he's on the chat room. And John from Waltham Abbey, he's
is he better?
A bit better. Yes, his ear hole's getting a bit better. And John Hamer can't be here because he's going to a conference over the weekend. So, but he'll probably be back next week.
Yeah.
So anyway, who's in chat? Deb?
We've got Kath. Hello, Kath. Kevin. Hello, Kevin. We've got Ralph. Hi, Ralph. Ancient Ruby's in. Hello. Joe Weeks is in. Said Ralph. Robbie Green's in. And that's it for now.
That's a good crowd. To the people in chat, I can't actually message, so I'm not being ignorant. I just can't. I can see your chat, but I can't answer back on this laptop for some reason.
And the chappie from Solent, what's his name?
Richard. He was in my chat on Saturday, Richard.
Yes. And he said that he can't tonight because he's on the old the juice. So
why not?
Going out, so we're going to be watching it on catch up, as they sort of say. And Sebastian's
in.
Easy. Hello, Sebastian.
And Nigel, we've got a Nigel in. Good evening, Nigel.
That was the name of my neighbour's cat, Nigel. The cat. Hello, Nigel, the cat.
I like my names for cats. That's why I call Bob.
Bob
the cat.
My dogs have all had human names. You know, when I shout him, I have to shout Roy. At least 7 middle-aged men turn around and ask me what I want. You know, but yeah. He's downstairs. Mark's taking him out for a bit, so he's quiet. Hey, Ralph.
If I had a dog, I'd call it Sit. Sit. Dogs.
The best dog name I've ever heard was my friend. He was called what was his name? Wayne Rogers. And he had a dog, and I asked him what it was called, and he said Deefa. And I said, "Oh, what a strange name." And he went, "Deefa dog." And I was like, "Oh, you have to get a cat now. You really need to get a cat and call it Seafa." I don't know if you ever did. I'll never forget that.
Well, tonight we've got an exciting show. We were talking about Colonel Percy Fawcett, who went missing in 1925. And it wasn't an expedition to Bognor. Although you probably would go missing in Bognor, because if you wanted to go there, you'd have to have a history of mental illness. But no, he went to the Amazon, and a lot of the things he said have come true. And not many people realise that Indiana Jones, the film Indiana Jones, was based on the real life Colonel Fawcett.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and that's well known. That I think the book was written from his exploits type of thing. But he was born in, obviously, the Victorian times, and in the First World War, he was a colonel, and he wasn't particularly liked, apparently. I found this out from a documentary by the other chaps, because when he was trying to work out gun emplacements, where the Germans had the gun emplacements, he used a Ouija board, I kid you not. People are going, huh? And there he was with his Ouija board working out where the gun emplacements are. Whether he was accurate or not, I do not know. But that's, that's the thing. But Colonel Fawcett, he used to he did a lot of mapping for London, and he had problems in getting financiers who would actually finance his exploits.
Yeah.
I believe that there might be a link. Now, the other chap who have actually had to write his name down because I can never remember it is Alfred Isaac Middleton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Alfred Isaac Middleton suddenly appeared about a week ago on social media. I'd never heard of him before, and I don't think us three. Well, I don't think Deb had heard him. And I've been trying to do some research on this bloke, and both Debs here have been trying to find some research, and we've come up with a square root of sod all. So anybody knows anything about Alfred Isaac Middleton?
I did write a little bit down.
Right, Deb.
Alfred Isaac Middleton disappeared in the jungles of Sumatra while searching for the remains of a lost city called Dawley 2.
Right. Go on.
He was a former assistant of Arthur Conan Doyle. He was said to have found treasure which he buried in a casket somewhere in the area.
Well, that's interesting. Now, he came back with some pictures. Now, these photographs, some people say they're photoshopped. Some people say they're faked. I'm open-minded. Now, the first one, which would interest you, Deb, is of a supposed to be tribe person, but my view, let's have a look at him, shall we? My view is it's a man with a coconut on his head. And I think it looks a bit human with makeup. Again, I could be wrong. I don't know. But it's a bit too clear, that.
It's the eyes, isn't it?
The face at the back of it.
Yeah.
I can see a face at the back of it as well. I mean, obviously, this is a new subject for me and Deb. So what I can do this week is I actually have a chap in Australia who has access to more historical newspaper reports than I. And over the years, he's managed to send me quite a lot of them. So there might be something in there that would fit that description. I can also look at the image, run it through FX and see when it was taken. It should tell us the year that it was taken. So if it was, if it had gone, I mean, if this was taken way back in the 1920s, I don't know how they photoshopped it because that would be impossible.
Yeah, it would.
Also, though, the
and
cameras
I would jump in with you, Chris, and say that probably looks like a man, but I've seen this before where Amazon tribes look far more animalistic than us humans do. We all look very, very different. So I would love to have a look at that image and run it through my analytics and see if I can pull anything out on it at all. Even GPS, if we could even get that. That'd be amazing.
So the thing is, the exposures were not very good on cameras in those days.
No.
So if you moved a little bit, it would show because they had long exposures. All right, there's a lot of light there, I would have thought, so you could, the film wouldn't have such a long exposure. But even so, it would be a little bit, shall we say, a bit too sharp, that photograph. If that was a tribe's, whatever it is, or Bigfoot or whatever, if it jumped up and that's it, it's too sharp. But I'll tell you another person we can ask is Shannon, because she is a photographic expert.
She is, yes.
Right. What do you think, Deb? Shall we have a look at the photographs this chap, Alfred Isaac Middleton, took?
If I'm correct, Isaac Middleton went into the jungle with his son, Jack.
Yes.
Yeah, so he didn't go in alone, Jack, so his wife was...
His son's friend as well.
His wife was back in England, so she's waiting for news that they're fine, that they're okay. And it just doesn't come, does it? The news never comes. And I don't think she's ever give up. In her lifetime, she never gave up searching for them.
Would you?
No.
But shall we have a look at the photographs? Yes. And again, we're open-minded.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're photography experts or anything like that, but this is what's appeared on social media. So we don't know whether they photoshopped or not. But I'll put a little bit of music at the back to give it a bit, So here it comes.
Do you know, I didn't notice it until Joe said it. It looks like a space rocket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Doesn't it?
And those things look like UFOs, didn't they?
Yeah.
Could that be photoshopped? I don't know.
Well,
It's a bit. So jury's out on that one.
no, I mean, I've got to be honest, I get sent a lot of photographs and I've seen stranger things. There are entire cities out there that are just chiseled into the rock.
Yeah.
And people live in them and have done for centuries, because honestly, that's where we would have started building. But they were intricate, weren't they? They were very, very intricate buildings. Oh, I'd love to have a look close up.
I'd love to go around.
I'll pop them over to you, the photo. Well,
Yeah.
I've got them on the internet. But I think my personal feelings is, okay, so this chap discovered this tribe that made those intricate buildings, and then suddenly white man intrudes a little bit more and they bugger off further into the jungle. The jungle would take that over in a very short while, because I've spoken to people that have actually lived. Well, I work with a girl that lived in Hong Kong, and she said the jungle there is continuously growing. They have to keep hacking it back all the time.
Yeah.
And she said, you put something in the ground, it'll grow. You know.
I mean, look at Machu Picchu. If they didn't keep cutting that back, we wouldn't be able to visit it now as eco-tourists, would we?
No.
That's the problem. You find these sites and people have never been to them before, and the next thing, you can pay £2,000 for flying in an helicopter, and see the hotel that they've made on the site. There's more and more of that going on. Anybody out there who's into mysteries will have heard of Josh Gates. And Josh Gates only 2 years ago discovered an entire city in the Amazon, and it was only through LiDAR. They had no idea that it was there, simply because the jungle had grown up and over it and claimed it. And you could only see it from space. And they realised that what they'd found, what they thought was this amazing city, was actually a very small part. It had canals and waterways, and at the time, it must have been amazing. It must have been like the Incas had set up. And getting back to Joe, though, where did he get this technology from?
I know.
Precisely. Well, look at other things. I mean, I won't go off script sort of thing, but it's all right. This isn't scripted, but off the course. But the pyramids in Egypt, I think everybody's going to laugh there, that they're made of concrete. And people go, huh? And there's a French architect that has gone into it. I think he's on the right track. He said, because when you look at it, I think it's sandstone, and they had all the stuff there to actually
ancient concrete.
It's ancient concrete. I think that's what it is. But over to Percy Fawcett, because we can't really spend too long on this chap. I've had to write it down, Alfred Isaac Middleton, because there's so little about him.
If he's out there, I will find him. If he's out there, I will find him. If it's legitimate and he hasn't just suddenly sprung up, then we should be able to find a paper trail to him somewhere. He's got to be mentioned in a book.
Yeah,
because how's this information been given out? It's either gone out by the newspaper. It's not just been word of mouth, has it? Somebody's got the photographs out there. Yeah. There should be a record of that. We should be able to find a paper trail of that, and that's my skill set. I can jump into that. Deborah, possibly ask
part two would be good
if anyone's got any information on them. Deb admins a lot of groups, so that might be a possible way we could find some.
Sorry, Deb, can you repeat that? I accidentally spoke over you just then, which was very rude of me. Sorry. Could you just repeat that? Your sound went a bit off when you said what you said something about. Could you send a route or something?
Oh, I don't know. I was just saying there should be a paper trail. There should be something out there that I can find, and that Deb possibly could look in the groups, because she admins a lot.
Groups.
Yeah, and there might be a bit. Somebody out there might have some information.
Yeah, possibly.
There's a lot on Percy Fawcett though, because he, as I say, that film Indiana Jones was loosely about him. But as I said earlier, he found a dog with two noses, which is a rare breed in the Amazon. He actually came across a giant anaconda, which they've now found do exist. Plus, he was looking for the city Z, which was a civilization, which they're now finding from satellite images. And as the jungles are clearing, they're finding the foundations of these amazing buildings. So Percy Fawcett was correct all the way along. And they laughed at him at the time. Dog with two noses, and all that sort of stuff. He was right, 100%.
The arrogance of man, isn't it? It's the arrogance of man. You
Yeah.
know,
Well-
was it, how long ago was it that we laughed at people who believed in gorillas? You know, that we were laughed at the dry folk when they spoke about them, and we had the arrogance to just believe that they were just silly little natives who know nothing. They know every single inch of that jungle and what lives in it.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
that's right.
sound off.
And also, how comes, as Muhammad Ali said, which is quite right, you have chaps and people that lived in the jungle for generations, and then this white man comes on called Tarzan who can speak to the animals and
Yeah.
kind of sort of work out. But joking aside, I think that there is a lot of things that we yet to discover. And look at, for example, scurvy. For 200 years, they knew the cure, but the establishment said, "Oh no, eating fruit won't make any difference." And that's why we're called the Limeys, because it's the British Navy that introduced eating limes to stop scurvy. But they knew it for 200 years. They actually knew the cure. So there's loads of people that died, even though they knew the cure, because of they're just damn arrogance.
Arrogant, yeah.
Anyway, what's going on in chat at the moment? Because we're going to go on to something more exciting as well. So
We've got comment from Paul Green. Remember being told about Cortez at school? It was rumoured he came across cities in the Amazon. They went into full armour. Ooh.
Oh, I've not heard that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Right. Somebody said, "Where's John Hamer tonight?" He's been a very naughty boy, and we've said he's got to stay in for detention, but he can come back next week. Now he's supposed to be on a show tonight, but he's preparing for a conference this weekend. Apparently,
yes,
he's going to be speaking. Well, I don't know what one it is, and I think it's Tyler said he's an avid reader of his books. Would like to ask him some questions, Mr. Chris.
He'll
be back next week if he's
hold
a good
on
boy.
to your questions.
Yes, hold on to your questions. You can ask him. You can interrogate him next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're going to tell us all you know.
Yes.
You know what? I keep going back to that face, because I've seen that face, and I keep going back to the picture that you shown. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a very recent. There's lots of documentaries about it on YouTube, and you'll find it. It was Senegalese. They actually went in a ship and found a new tribe that they'd never heard about before, and the tribe are on the beach, and you can see it in the documentary. And the people to them and things. There's one female in that tribe that comes out of the bush, grabs hold of a boy's hand, a male, and takes him back in. And if you slow it right down and look at her face, she looks like that guy, but it's really ashy and grey. And I remember I watched it over and over and over and over, because at the time I was interested in signs that Amazon tribes leave when they traipse through the jungle, how they hunt, and what signs they leave behind so people know what animals are in the area, to see if I could put it together with Bigfoot, obviously. And her face is almost the same as his, but it's very grey and ashy. You'll have to watch the video.
It's of India, isn't it? And apparently anybody that goes to this island where this tribe is,
the attack,
they are very. Did you ever hear that about the tsunami? They had a helicopter that went over to try and warn the tribe, and they actually had gone to higher ground. They knew it was coming. How did they know?
Because the animals know. Because all of the animals know, and the sea behaves differently, and they are so in tune to that.
Yeah.
They don't need the news like we need the news. It was her face. She looked very different than what you would class as a typical human. And I remember saying to Mark, that could be because it's a tribe. That might be how their females look. But because they look different to us, it's like, oh, she looks really strange. But she would think that about me.
Yeah.
She would think I was incredibly pale, maybe ill, from my complexion when you look at it. And what they did, there was one thing that really annoyed me, though. What they started to do was, as they pulled up to the beach, obviously this tribe would run out and throw spears at people. So they thought, I know, let's take tourists. That's the best thing that we could think of.
Tourists.
Yeah. So they pile this boat with tourists and pirates, and they take it out there, and they stand waving at the people, throwing coconuts at them. And then they're really shocked that the people on the beach get quite aggressive towards them. So they throw more coconuts and act even more outlandish in the boat of, you know, it was just an absolute farce. And I remember saying to Mark, they have no idea that they're angering this tribe, you know, and then just keep ramping it up, you know, but we know they were there. Nobody had ever found them before. How many other civilizations are out there that we don't know about?
Exactly.
I agree. Well, you know, there's a lot of tribes. There's one tribe that's very, very peaceful. Zoe tribe in Amazon, but only discovered in the 1980s. And they came back, the explorers, and said, oh, they eat their children. They don't. They eat monkeys. And of course, a little monkey, spider monkey, when it looks like, and the things that rumours, and they turned out to be the most peaceful, loving, nicest tribe you could ever wish to meet. And going on with this, I mentioned this to you before the show, but there was a book I once, years ago, I read about a bloke that worked at Ford's at Dagenham and decided he'd had enough of this and decided to cycle around the world. And he wrote a book afterwards, and he said the poorest areas were the nicest people generally. Yeah. And he was attacked in Hollywood twice. He got mugged twice in Hollywood. And as he was lying on the street, people were walking over him, stepping over him. Yet in Bangladesh, I think it was Bangladesh, he killed a girl, and they rushed him to a hospital. A couple of days he was in hospital. When he come back, he thought his bike wouldn't be there. Not only had his bike was still there, the tires were pumped up. It was been clean.
No, I think the greedier we get.
But the funniest one he said was he was in Papua New Guinea. And he was in this really remote area. And he's going along this road, cycling along, and it's miles from anywhere. And suddenly this tribe came out, their spears and everything going all around him. And he thought, that's it. I'm finished. Okay. And he said, when that happens, you're sort of, something kicks in.
Yeah, you shout.
What he did, he just stood up and shouted, I'm a cyclist to this tribe. What stupid. I'm a cyclist. And suddenly they all sort of stood back. And in English, someone at the back said, oh, sorry, we thought you was a tax inspector. And apparently, they saw this white man going in, and all the tax inspectors were white men. And this tribe took this chap back to their village. And I think there was a Catholic mission there. There were Catholics. They're really nice people. They're really friendly. I didn't like the tax people. And they thought he was a tax man. Well, I think it's like, I'm a cyclist.
What right have we got to tax them, you know? What right have we tax a man on his own land, you know? It just, the hypocrisy of that, it astounds me. Yeah. We have colonised your country, now you must pay. Yeah. No wonder they hide away from us. I'd hide away from us as well.
Me too.
You know what we're lacking, and it's a really important note. I think those tribe people know every medicine in that jungle, every single medicine, that could cure us all for free.
Yeah.
So they're far more important than Big Pharma. But what we support is Big Pharma. But they've lived there their entire lives. You know,
we're on YouTube.
Yeah, they can put me down. I'm not bothered. Yeah, I've got another channel set ready for when they do it. I don't mind poking the bear. But no, you get what I mean. They can walk out if you've got an illness or something that ails you, or a bite or a snake bite. They know the cure. They know exactly what to do, you know. And that's valuable knowledge. But if we integrate with them by throwing coconuts at them and taking the Michael, then we're never going to find out those secrets, are we? No wonder they don't like us.
No, exactly.
Well, that's right. And the other thing is that this tribe, the Zoe tribe, they actually cure arthritis. They look on the jungle as a medicine cabinet.
They don't have our diseases.
No
measles, no TB, no yellow fever, none of those viruses, airborne viruses. They don't. That's why we can kill them, same as we did with the Inuit, you know, because they don't need them. They eat the right diet at the right time. They're incredibly fit. And all I have to worry about is food, shelter, and water. And that's exactly like a Bigfoot. So for me, I can equate to it. It's like I make that understand. They're not going to worry about the bank or the car payment or if they've got the rent. So you would imagine that they were actually nicer people, because
that's right. I mean, there was a book called Fierce People, and it was a chap that's American anthropologist. And he went and lived with a tribe. I think they were the Yanomamo tribe in Amazon. and he spoke their language, and he mixed with them, and he got sort of to know them. He actually married a woman from that tribe, and they were a very fierce tribe, and the majority, believe it or not, were left-handed, strangely enough. And but what he said they didn't wear a stitch of clothing, but he said two things that he was quite amazed with. He said he never once saw them going to the lavatory, and never once saw them having sex. And they brought up their children very strictly, very properly. He said, their children did not speak out a term, and he said, but they never ever. He said they were very decent. Those very things, very private. And you look on them as savages and that. Now look at our society, what we've got now. We've got blokes dressing up as women, then trying to entertain little toddlers, which I'm totally against. Things like that. So we're going backwards and probably going forwards.
Yeah.
But we're taking them well, aren't they, while we're doing it? Because I don't think we actually realise just how much rainforest is being taken each day. I know we get sick of hearing it, and I know we're bored of hearing it, but it's a real threat. That's the lungs of our planet. And if we can kill hundreds of species in the pursuit of palm oil, then there's no hope for us as a civilization, in all honesty. There are tribes that are being forced out of their tribal land by pirates. And I don't mean pirates on the sea. I mean illegal mining, illegal logging, because they have the resources that people need. So they're actually coming out of the jungles and saying, help, we're being killed in there. And all we're doing is sticking an Adidas t-shirt on them and send them to the nearest missionary. And that's us done, isn't it? And then we go in and claim the land as our own. So you've got this. I think that's what's happened to Bigfoot. I think they live in an area, they know every resource in it, and then we go, no, we're building a council estate there, or we're going to build a hospital there. Then what do you do? How do you carry on as a race? As a people?
Yeah.
Well, I think that really the other thing is that, it's like we were saying the other week. Now, where I live, it's noted for badgers. At the local council, their logo is a badger.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a live badger. I've seen plenty of dead ones by the side of the road that have been knocked over. Well, I've never seen a live one.
No, I am.
So, and there's loads of them around. And the other thing, I had seen adders. It's very noted for adders, the snake adders. Yeah. It's the only venomous snake in UK is the adder. But really, when you think about it, there's lots of animals that you don't see. I mean, I used to see a lot of muntjac deer, but as they're building and building and building now, you're seeing...
pushing them out.
They're pushing further and further out, don't they? A lot of them use the motorway. Honestly, it's sad, isn't it, when you're excited about the fact that there is an actual green corridor because of the motorway. So I know where we live, when they move between the country parks, they actually use that green on either side of the motorway.
Yeah.
But how many we lose each year because of the motorway, I'm not sure. Sebastian asked, I wonder what the percentage of trees felled in the UK is. I don't know, but I would imagine that I could find it out. I could have a look on Google and find frightening. I would imagine. Me and Chris speaking about areas in the UK where we have a high number of cryptid reports that are suddenly posted as private or built upon or made it into SSI, so you can't go in there anymore. So I don't think we'd get true figures because I don't think they'd be publishing. But it's only a 10-minute thing to look it up. I'll make a note and I'll have a look after the show.
Because you know that when HMS Victory was built, there's a shortage of oak trees. That actually creates a shortage of oak trees. There are not so many oak trees there. We had very few oak trees here.
Yeah.
Because there's two different kinds of oaks. There's an ancient oak and there's like the newer oak, isn't it? Yeah. And it was for mass. That's we emptied the country of him for mass. I think even Pliny wrote about him, about the oaks, and they went from the tip of England to the top. And a squirrel could cross from the bottom of England to the top of England. What did he call it? Like a disgraceful forest.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the country was covered in forestry. Yeah. That was the thing. You look at Robin Hood, whether he existed or not, I don't know. But Robin Hood in Sherwood Forest. I mean, you go to Sherwood Forest, there's sod all of it left.
Yeah, exactly.
Epping Forest is quite large. But one thing I wanted to ask you, this is the exciting bit, which you don't know what's coming up because we haven't rehearsed this one beforehand. Is Bigfoot sightings around the Amazon jungle. Are there any?
Now, you're going to have to give me
Yes.
A bit closer because the Amazon jungle's pretty big.
It is big. So let's say, well, it's Brazil, it's Colombia.
Yeah, that makes it easy.
Uruguay. I mean, Uruguay, there's a very interesting country.
I have reports in most of those places that you just mentioned. So do you want me to jump in and just go through them?
Well, what we could do, we could go for an advert break.
Uh-huh.
And you'd be having a look whilst we go in the advert break. So, so what do you think we need? A Fockham Hall one? Hang on. Where are we?
Get that old bird on.
Yeah, where are we? I lose it. Here it is. Wow.
Are you partial to something a little different? Do you like to give the two-finger salute to mainstream media? Then look no further than Fockham Hall Radio. With its charming mix of information and lots of archive footage, it really is a treat for the senses. You will surely exclaim, "Well, butter my crumpets," when you peruse all that Fockham Hall has to offer. So just pop along, quick sticks, to www.fockhamhallradio.com. You'll be assured of a super spiffing time, and as we like to say, Fockham Hall.
Do you want a bit of Cool Britannia like we had the other week? It's the advert for a previous show, so it's not another show coming on. So have a quick bit of Here It Comes.
Britannia, Britannia, you are cool. Take a trip. Britons ever, ever, ever shall be hip, hippie, hippie.
It's not misdirection starting soon. That was a show a couple of weeks ago, but I just stumbled across that, and I think you quite like that one.
I like that one.
Cool Britannia.
It's already carry on, is that?
Right. So do you want to hear 10 interesting facts about Percy Fawcett?
Yeah.
It could be 10 boring facts. Fawcett got a taste for adventure early on in life. Fawcett attended the Royal Military Academy, Woolwich. Well, that's not very exciting, is it? And was commissioned as a lieutenant of the Royal Artillery in 1886, aged just 19.
Oh.
He served in Hong Kong, Malta, and Ceylon, modern-day Sri Lanka, and later worked for the Secret Service in North Africa and for the War Office in Ireland. He counted the adventure writers H. Rider Haggard and Arthur Conan Doyle amongst his friends, and Fawcett's adventures proved inspiring for both writers. That's interesting because Conan Doyle wrote The Lost World.
Yeah.
Number 2, Fawcett explored the jungle for nearly 20 years.
Right.
In 1906, Fawcett travelled to South America for the first time in order to act as an independent cartographer. What a boring fart.
Of the
the border between Brazil and Bolivia at the behest of the Royal Graphic Society. So he's good at making maps. Between 1906 and 1924, he made a total of 7 expeditions to the Amazon jungle to complete mapping projects, tracing the source of the Rio Verde and the Health River and charting previously unexplored jungle territories. Fawcett was a decorated war hero. And it says at the outbreak of World War I in Europe, he returned to Britain to serve in the Royal Artillery, commanding a brigade despite being nearly 50 years old, which was then deemed the upper age limit for military service.
Yeah.
That's it. And then it says 4. Fawcett devised the idea of the lost city of Zed. Like many of his contemporaries, Fawcett was of the opinion that the native peoples he met were members of uncivilized societies or savages, but unusually for the time, he did believe that their ancestors had been the builders of sophisticated societies, artistic treasures, and complex civilizations. Early histories of South America, written by Spanish conquistadors and explorers, detailed the numerous and very large settlements of the native peoples. After discovering shards of delicate ancient pottery on the jungle floor, Fawcett began to formulate the idea that a mysterious lost city, which he named Zed, existed deep in the Mato Grosso region of the Amazon jungle, which would hold answers about prehistoric civilization. And then it goes on. I'll read a little bit more later on, but the thing is that imagine if our society finished now, and there's only, say, a handful of people there. You see, I've often wondered, how do these tribes get there in the Amazon jungle? Some of the most remote tribes, how did they get there in the first place? It makes you wonder. You know, it's because they reckon that some tribes come from Polynesia on the far side. I think is it the Peruvian side? I think it's Peru.
Yeah.
Or Chile side.
Yeah.
They come from Polynesia, and they were marvelous at sailing. So that's what that chap in the 50s, what is his name now, who made the Kontiki raft and sailed across to prove something Hydor.
Yes.
Yeah. Wasn't Fred, was it? No.
No.
I just think they're there as the same way that early Brits are here. We humans do amazing things, you know. They reckon we walked out of Africa and we crossed that point at the Dead Sea,
Well,
which is very narrow.
that's wrong now. They reckon we didn't come from Africa. They reckon we came from up near Turkey. Because there's the Neanderthals, and then there's the modern man. And we mated with not me personally, but we mated. Us three didn't mate with the Neanderthals. Although if you walk through Waltham Cross on Market Day, you would believe that, yes.
Human,
yes.
human
Knuckles dragging on the ground, yeah.
No, Chris, if you believe in evolution, it said that we came from apes. So maybe that's why there are so many tribes out there that we don't know, because they came from apes in the same way that we did.
Well, I don't believe in
DNA,
evolution.
we never know, would we? We wouldn't know until we tested it DNA-wise.
No, but I'm not religious, but I don't believe that we evolved from apes. I really don't. I think maybe E.T. may have had a go. I just do not know what actually happened. But the out of Africa idea is a bit iffy, I think. You know, I'm always open-minded. If anybody's got anything, but my view is, after speaking with John Heyman, what he's looked into it, evolution seems. We did a program a couple of weeks ago. It's no. I think even Darwin, near the end of his life, admitted that he was wrong. We adapt, yeah, but we don't evolve. Because if we evolved, how comes we haven't got chimpanzees going to university now? How comes one lot evolved and the other lot didn't?
Because they did. Survival of the fittest. That's why they evolved and built cities, and that's why they stayed in the jungle. It's,
yeah, but if a monkey stood up,
Chris, because you can't. E.T. may have interfered with some early humans, but I don't think all early humans were. Lloyd Pye himself says it. There is a gap. There's that missing link, isn't there? That definite missing link. But it may be that some of those tribes out there are original, and that's where they came from, and that's how they've grown, because we had no interference from us, from the white man or anybody else, really. They could be true indigenous people, you know.
Could be, but there's strange monuments deep down in South America. I think it's in Argentina. I could be wrong, showing white men. And also, there's always, and I think that Graham Hancock was on about this, always showed a white man with a beard, because you notice that Amazon Indians do not grow facial hair, which is very strange. We do, but they don't. And there's always a white man with a beard holding a handbag. who is this white man holding a handbag? And he reckons that the world was destroyed 10,400 years ago, wiped out most of civilization, and the survivors were the ones that had to go and join the tribesmen to survive. Because let's face it, if, say, we had a solar flare that wiped out all electricity and our civilization was it, it's finished, people in the Amazon jungle be a day like any other day, wouldn't be sod all difference to them, would it?
No, it wouldn't matter. There are some, even, I mean, Finland and Norway and places like that where people just live way out there and they're self-sufficient. Yeah. You know, they probably do a lot better than us in towns, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard, isn't it? Because we're talking about mankind as if it's all one, and I don't think we are. I think we're many different things, depending on, you know, your initial gene pool kind of thing.
Well, I do follow Dr. Hare in Canada, who's very interesting. I know I'm going slightly off track because my pet subject is psychopaths, but he says that psychopaths, he's come very close to admitting, and this is my view of what he said, to admitting they are not human. They are a different breed of human because their emotions, and if you look at a scan of their brain, it's very different to ours. And they don't have emotions, they don't have human emotions. And he's come very close to saying that they're not human. And I think he's right there.
More animalistic. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. I think back in the day, I don't think we were as appalled at things back then. I think it was quite natural probably to eat our dead because we have found human bone that's been split and the marrow's taken from, and it's human teeth that have ground on it. We're trying to work out a tribe with a 2022 brain. And I think that's kind of impossible because even the experts get it wrong, don't they? They said, "Oh, Cheddar Man was he would have been red-haired and very pale skin." And 25 years later, they said, "Oh no, he would have been really dark skinned and had dark curly hair." So you think, well, which one's right? You know, which one's correct? The only thing I know about Cheddar Man was he ate the dead because there are bones there that have been split, the marrow's taken from him, and we do that with animals. So we might have done that in a way of celebration. Not in the way that we'd put our mind to it. I was actually even the Neanderthals had a burial system, so they would put them in the ground, and then they would put flowers on the ground like we do. Other tribes would take them high up to what's called a sky burial.
Yeah,
even North American Indians did that, didn't they?
Like that, and we all had each society and culture had a different way of dealing with death.
Yanomamo, what they did, they actually let the skin rot off the bones, and then they bashed the bones into a powder, and they put it into a soup, and they sort of drunk their ancestors in a way. And it's a sort of cannibalism, but not quite, because the person was already dead, you know. But to us, it's a bit revolting, but to them, no, it wasn't, you know. I like what Survivalist Dave said. He said, on a survival situation, he looks at people like politicians and that as meat.
I was speaking with Deb last week, and we were talking about some of the cases that he's worked on. And one of the cases he worked on was a Carter Farm Bigfoot case. And just a little bit of context for folk. Johnny's Carter's grandfather in the 1940s found an injured baby Bigfoot, and he brought that up, and it lived on the land. And he named it Fox, and it existed. Go on.
Where was this? Sorry, what country was it?
In America, Texas, Tennessee in America.
Yeah, okay.
Lost my thread now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, but I just wanted to know who it was.
1 second, it'll come back. Oh, right, yeah. So
he's
brought it up as a little baby, and it's lived on the land with its own family and everything. And he's got his family, and his granddaughter's the one telling the story, and she's growing up. So Grandpa passes away, and time comes for Fox, the Bigfoot, that was the name they called it, to pass away. So there are a number of documentations out there and written, what would you call it, affidavit, really, of these people that were invited to the death of this Bigfoot. And they said that there was a huge hole dug, and that's where his body was going to go. And he knew that he was dying, and that he had his family around him, and they were sitting with him while he died. And they each brought him a gift, mostly food items that he really, really liked. And then when he died, he was placed into the ground and it was covered, and then a dead tree was put over the top. And that might be the answer as to why do we never find the bodies. Maybe they have a ritual that they go through. Maybe different clans have different rituals, I don't know. But I think every single thing, like even chimpanzees, don't they, Deb, and apes, they mourn.
Yeah, they do. Elephants do.
Yeah.
I just think we're looking at it with a different brain. We're looking at it in 2022 where we're quite hardened to death, and we're kind of used to violence, and we're used to abhorrent things, aren't we? We see them all the time.
Yeah.
But I think back then, the things he did with death were more about honouring than. I think if you were a bad person, you were probably just left out there somewhere because nobody cared about you. You were a bad person. You were a murderer or something like that. But then maybe your father died and he was your king. And you had this ceremonial that you went through, this washing of the body. Yeah. And, early humans did it. We know that. We know that they did.
The dead, last rites kind of thing.
And they didn't cremate. They usually buried them. But it's what you're talking about, Bigfoot mating with humans. There's a case in Russia, wasn't there?
Yeah, Zana, that was the thing I was guessing at. I was working with him on one case, and the case was a long-term habituation in Russia, and he's done a number of them, and we've been looking at the similarities. And one of the similarities being the case of Zana that you spoke about then. She was found in the 17-somethings, I can't remember. She was given to this rich laird, and he built her a cage, a gilded cage, and she was quite much happier. She would dig like a hare's den. She would dig a divot in the ground and get into it. Well, this fox, so we're talking Tennessee, 300 years later, they talk about this female who loses a baby. She has a miscarriage, and she places that baby into the ground, and she actually brings food to the grave for it over a number of days, and they would sleep in a dugout pit in the ground. So you got two completely different stories from different time zones and different areas, and they talk about this pit where they would sleep within the ground, and they would just cover it with debris and fur. And maybe that's how they did it. I don't know. But Zana had 8 children. 4 of them died and 4 of them survived. And her relatives are still in Russia to this day. They're in
They've got photos, haven't they, from the Edwardian times?
If anyone wants to see them, I've actually got. He sent me new ones this week where it's a great niece. And you
do they ape-like? Are they sort of? I mean, I saw a man who's very hairy.
No, I wouldn't say. The son Kvit does. He's first generation. So Zana was allowed. The men of the village would ply her with drink, and then they would use her for their own reasons. And the first 4 babies, as I say, died. And it must be a birthing ritual because she took them down to the river and put them in the cold water, and they died. So maybe Bigfoot do this and their babies don't die. I don't know why. So after 4, they decided that they would take the babies as she had them. Would have been a lot better if they stopped the men from doing what they were doing. But, so they kept the 4. So first generation, he's really hairy. He's got a massive jaw.
I've seen that picture.
Big thorough. And it was said that he lost an arm in a fight, and he went to work the day after and just carried on lugging sacks of wheat and things like that. So next generation down is still that curly hair. You can see they've all got very, very dark eyes, and that interested me because obviously I've had my own sighting of a monkey type thing, and for all it had whites to its eyes, they weren't as much as we had. And when you look at Zana's descendants, they have this black, almost completely black eye, very, very little white to it. And for all, we're probably 6 or 7 generations, might even be more. There's a very distinct look. Each of them has this distinct look, like a very pronounced chin, I would say. The chin's quite a lot bigger than the average human, but you could pass them in the street and you wouldn't realise. But I think if somebody told you their story, you'd think, now that makes sense, because they all do look very, very alike. So you only ever see photographs of them in clothes, so I don't know if they're more hirsute than normal. But something I found out recently, Chris, is if children are abandoned in the wild as babies, as young babies, they will actually grow longer hair.
Yeah.
People don't know why this happens. So I looked at as many children that had been left out there in the wild, and that Peter, the guy, he was in Africa, he was left out there. He was only 2.5. And when they found him, he was completely hair covered, and the villagers shaved him to take the hair off him. And he can, to this day, can sit with monkeys and chat with them. He knows how to gesticate with them. He knows what hands to use. They kept him alive. That troop of monkeys kept him alive until somebody found him all those years later.
There was one in India, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It was a picture in the 30s.
Yeah.
I got this book of mysteries, which was bought years ago. And like the predictions it has in it, most of them will come true.
Yeah.
Because it was at the time when the Soviet Union was at its height, and it said the Soviet Union will disappear within 20 years, and it did disappear.
Oh, right.
And it's quite amazing some of the things it said. But what gets me is when you think of Bigfoot, you always think of North America, Canada, and then you think of the Yeti, you think of Tibet, and then you think of the one in Russia. But we never ever hear of the Amazon jungle, and I just can't understand why. Because I thought if there would be a huge number of Bigfoots in the Amazon jungle.
Yeah. One of the things I find really hard when you're looking back in history, you need to know the language. So, I would have to speak Brazilian or African or Norwegian. And then you have to know regional names for things, what they call things, because for them, they don't call it Bigfoot. It's a Mapangara. So they have their own name for it. And there are a number. I sent you a little screenshot over in email, Chris. I forgot to tell you. I'm having a look now, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 accounts from Colombia down to Argentina.
Right. I can't actually put them on the screen. Have you sent this by email?
Yeah, I popped it over to you by email.
I don't know how to put it on the screen from my email.
1 second, I might be able to share it. Just give me a sec, see if I can do it from here.
Yeah, I can't. Well, I probably can do it, but I don't know how to do it.
You might. Hopefully, this will work, and I can do it for you.
Because it's very, because I know that they keep seeing these flying, whatever they are.
I wanted to speak to you about that. Was it popped in my head before? Can you see my map on screen now?
Hang on, add to screen.
Right.
Yes, it is. Here it is.
Yeah.
Deborah Hatswell's cryptid. This map shows.
It's my filing system, Chris. It's one, so I know what is in what area. So we're looking at Venezuela here. We're going all the way down past Argentina. So we've got the first one, which would be a white Bigfoot. So that happened in Chile. And you see that drawing there?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's by the people that have seen it. So underneath all that noise, if we break it down, we've got a hair-covered creature with red eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest a baboon-like snout,
Yes.
hands and feet. This happened 2006. So it's a truck driver, and he's on the road, June 2006, and he's driving, and he sees that creature. I mean, it's too much for me to read out. Yeah. He described it as it had the appearance of an ape with short arms and long legs. And its eyes that were sparkling red. And its fur was white. He said that that's quite unusual for a white creature to be sighted. Now, what we've also got, if you can see these reports here, these are animal mutilations where the creature has been drained of blood completely. But there is no sign of it at the scene. And let me just make it bigger for you, you can see there's 4 in it. You can see them in an actual line. And I thought you might find this interesting. You see? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a report of a creature here, a report of a creature here, and a report of clearly a canine cryptid. And so is this a line of feeding? What's draining all of these things off? Blood?
That is strange, because these animal mutilations, I mean, what they said though, Richard D. Hall has gone into it in this country, and he said that the mutilations in this country were precision surgical procedures.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree with him.
I would have thought that where they're in South America, it would appear to be, am I right in saying that it was an animal that had gnawed at these and drained the blood or whatever?
There is no sign of a wound, but there is sign of extinguation. So all of the blood has been removed from the body. They're all males, and they're all taken out of town into like the mountain regions. So not in busy villages or anything like that. Unfortunately, what we've got, Chris, is a press that is not impressed by the story at all and is not sharing these reports. So there could be even more of them. We just don't know. We don't know, how many more of them there are. This is the reason I map things, because I want to look for that pattern. So you see here this Bigfoot creature.
I see. It seems to be, it's weird because you look at Chile, there's hardly anything going on there. I mean, you've got
how barren it is, though. You look at Chile, there's no woodland.
No, there isn't. But that's interesting. It's a very good point. And maps do tell you a hell of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That is quite interesting.
Pardon me.
What about that flying dragon that they keep seeing as well? There's a flying dragon. I think it's in Argentina.
There is two. Let me just catch my breath.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've been in for a while. That one, was it Paraguay? There's a strange thing. What about that electric eel type thing over State of Santa, whatever it is?
There's two in the jungle that I remember. I can't get the name of it in my head. I think it begins with L. And as it flies over this vast bird, it has a light in its tummy and a green light and a red light.
Yeah.
So what you've got there is you've got tribes people seeing an aeroplane. But if you look within those sightings, what they're actually describing, some of them are describing a pterodactyl, no mention of lights.
Yeah.
A bat-like wing rather than a bird-like wing. And then so in some of the places in Brazil, there's a creature that's described as bird-like, but over 10 feet tall. So that is seen not like a mothman, like this pterodactyl thing that is flying over. What I would do is I would go into the jungle with a number of pictures and I would say, does it look anything like this?
Yeah.
You know? And most of the people, because they do that with it, Aaron Pendek. People said, no, it's not out there. And they took it and they said, no, it's not that one. Ah, that's it. And they kind of picked the picture of the Aaron Pendek that's being described. So maybe we could do that with the flying things. But I think some of them are tribes that don't understand what's happening in the sky. But as I say, always within that is a nugget of truth where you've got other people who've seen this awful bird. And then there's another creature that's described as having its mouth in the middle of its body. So human shaped, but with a mouth central to its body.
Yes.
And this is the typical Mapangari, as you say, more in the north than the south. Yeah. But I don't know where that's from.
Sorry, I didn't mean to chat in there, but do you see that picture taken during the American Civil War? I'm not sure. I think it's a Union Army that shot what looked like a pterodactyl.
Oh yeah, I've seen that picture. I know.
I'm jury's out on that one, whether it's a fake or not. I think it is a fake, but it's been around for years, and I've actually got it in a very old book. Yeah. So it was. I mean, obviously they used to Photoshop. They used to sort of touch up pictures years ago, and had fake pictures years ago. But I don't know whether that's a fake or not. It certainly doesn't look like a fake. It's a very clever one, unless it's a load of blokes that dressed up in the Union Army outfits and said, "Okay, fellas, let's make a paper mache pterodactyl and all pose next to it." I think so, you know.
I think there's things that we don't know. We discover new species, don't we, all of the time? Yeah. All of the time. And we discover things about species we already know about. So things that we didn't know that they would do. I think. I'm in touch with Ian Jennings, the guy who he does Save the Apes. You know, that's what he does. And at once, there's a very famous Bigfooter out there, and I'm not going to name any names. And she put
that's Deborah Hatswell, isn't it?
Oh, it's not me. No. It's an American lady, and she put these photographs out of her Bigfoot. And I looked at them and I thought, I've seen them before. So the forest was normal, but where each of these Bigfoot were in the trees, she's kind of blurred it off just a tiny bit, just a little bit. And I'm thinking, where have I seen that? I know I've seen that before. And it suddenly struck me. It was a picture of Barbary apes.
Right, yeah.
And she just kind of blurred them out. So I sent it over to Ian and I said, Ian, what would you say that was? And he said, right, looking at the trees, that is a Barbary ape. it didn't matter how many people I told or how many people I shown his affidavit to. They just, no, it's not there, Bigfoot. And I'm saying, look, that's not even in America. It's clearly on I would imagine Brazil or somewhere like that, looking at the jungle. But no, I mean, these bloody Barbary apes, and she's still going to this day. Charges people £35 to look at their images.
Oh my godfathers! Oh, it's a bit like that one you said the other week. Was it a woman looking at Scotland or something, saying there's lights out?
Oh, the Norway lady.
The Norway lady. Yeah, there's a lot of them. But so I didn't mean to be insulting because you said
you're right.
Lady, and I thought you are the leading authority on Bigfoot.
Everybody
so I didn't mean
says
to insulting, but I didn't know you was going to say. But the thing is that I think that a lot of these. I mean, there was one of a police officer whose car was attacked by one of these flying whatever it was creatures, and he was in a state of shock, and that was in Argentina.
Yeah.
And he was, I mean, let's face it, it must have happened because he'd stand to be shown up in front of his mates.
Yeah.
He had to be treated for shock because this thing was so aggressive. And you could see his car had been damaged quite badly by whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But I still, believe that possibly Bigfoot in this country can go in and out of our, shall we say, a time. It can actually be in between a kind of parallel universe or something, or skip in and out of our time.
Do you want an example of that? Because I people that hang me out to dry all the time because I won't decide what part of the fence I'm on. I'm not deciding what part of the fence I'm on until I've sit down and one, Lady in Scotland. So she's driving the road, typical 6:30 in the morning. And when I'm talking Scotland, I don't mean in the town. She's in the Highlands. I can't remember the name of that road. It just cuts all the way through and just meanders. She's driving down the road because the road's not important. And she says what she sees is a typical Bigfoot-like creature. She sees him from behind. And he is drinking water from a puddle. But as he's doing that and he notices her, suddenly the car starts to turn, and it turns 3 times. She doesn't hurt herself. Nothing moved off the dashboard. And she's righted. She was just a little bit sore from where the belt had been. And I couldn't give her an answer as to what had happened there. And it was almost like he flipped her. It was almost like he'd done that to get her away, just get away from me while I get away kind of thing. And I said, I've heard of infrasound, but that's beyond that. So how do I equate that to something that's just an animal or a chimp? That's ridiculous. Something went on there.
So
all the items stayed on.
I've heard similar in Wales, but there was no sighting of any Bigfoot or anything. And this was from a school teacher when I was a kid at school. She said her a relative of hers used to drive like a maniac on a motorbike around the mountains of Wales to get home. And he was driving home one night and something was turning the handlebars of his motorbike. He could not go forward. And he literally he put his foot down and really went like bat out of hell. And he had to go along the main sort of road and go miles round, halfway around Will's mother's to get home. And the next day, he found out there was a rockfall and he'd been killed.
So it was almost saving him, yeah? I was about to say it's like the hairy hands in Devon. Yeah. But they're not benevolent, they're malevolent. They will cause accidents and things. But what you're describing there is something that saved him.
Yeah, saved his life. And I think that there's lots of weird things like that. I mean, my view is that is it Dave Starbuck, that great Starbuck, used to say nothing happens by coincidence.
No,
and there's some coincidences that are really weird. And I mean, this may not sound that weird, but for ages I've been trying to get hold of some guttering. And you think, hang on, does my house need new guttering? No, what it is, it's my idea. I'm going to put a fence up, and I'm going to put this square brown guttering where the posts go, because it's bordering my neighbour's garden, and he has a lot of conifers. So if you cut down to do the foundations for the fence posts, you're going to you have to go through roots, which is not a very good job. Yeah. Plus you'll kill the conifers. But there's already some stakes there which are really cemented into the ground that are only about a couple of feet high for an existing wire fence, which is not very high. So I'm going to take the wire away, put the these downpipes over the posts, and then concrete them in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Concrete them in.
And of course, as it's brown, it'll last for ages. And I'm going to have timber either side, so I can actually build the fences either side. And that way, I'm not going to destroy the trees, and I'm giving myself less work.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll work. You see, it's one of my ideas. I'm going to have a little ball on the top, and anyway. With the story, I tried you can buy black and you can buy white, but you can't buy brown, obviously. And I waited for ages. I bought some off the internet, and loads and loads of hassle. And eventually, I found a little place, little family firm, strange enough in Waltham Abbey, the same area that Abbey Health Foods is in. And they said, yeah, we've got them. We can order them in. And there was a place down the road to me said, yes, we got them, but it's £25 delivery. I said, well, it's only a mile and a half from me. Oh, no.
I rolled out for that price.
So I sort of politely said, sod off. And this place, I said, how much do you charge for delivery? He said, it's free.
Yeah.
It ain't nice. Anyway, on with the story. They said, right, we'll deliver it on Friday. No, correction, it was Wednesday. It came along. So I finished the washing up, and I thought I better open the top gate of my garden because I don't know what time he's coming along. But with this weather, things are drying up so much, the gate is getting a bit stuck. You see. So anyway, I went up there, opened the door, and just as I opened the door, the van came along with my delivery. Now that is 1,000,000 to 1 chance, isn't it?
It is.
It's absolutely incredible that out of all the hours of the day, he comes along. He said, "You psychic? You know I was here." It's really odd because he was going to pull up and phone.
Yeah.
But he arrived. I just opened the door, walked out.
It's a good thing because you're using a local business, aren't you? They'll be grateful of the money, And if it works, it works. Why change it?
That's right. But it's a place that supplies plastics in Waltham Abbey. I can't remember their names there. Hang on. I'll try and find it in my diary because I think they need a call out because they're so bloody good.
Out.
Here it is. No, it isn't. No, hang on. Might be here somewhere. Where did I put it?
That's what I call it as well, Ruby.
Yeah.
No such thing as coincidence.
No.
Oh, there isn't. No, you're right there. I'm just trying to find the name of this firm. And I can't find it. Hang on. It'll be here in a minute. I've written it down somewhere, but they were a really good place. And hopefully next week I'll give them a call out.
Yeah,
they were so good and they're a lovely firm, very polite, and they did it. I bought a length. What was it? 4 meters long, which is pretty long, and they delivered it on a transit van, a connect van, with a big roof rack on the top. I was ready to bloody lorry to come along. This is a connect van. They're fantastic, though. What a terrific.
I don't get it. There's people where I live who've never visited that farm shop. They have the best eggs in the world and they're cheaper than the supermarket. And you can see the chickens, so you know what kind of, how they're being looked after. Yeah. The ice cream is just to absolutely die for. And you talk to people and you go, oh, no, I've never been.
Yeah.
And you think it's a mile down the road, you're going to pass it to a big store, get in there. And they do everything, Deb. They do their own cookies, their own shortbreads, like their own, marmalades and jams and things like that. And they have an amazing range. I've not been for a while for ice cream, but I think
I keep saying I'm going to come over and have ice cream with you.
Oh, I tell you, it's to die for. They do a birthday cake one.
Oh yeah,
but like a special. They're on Facebook, so every now and again she'll put one up, so it'll be like a Black Forest gatto or a Jaffa cake. Well, I've got to try it, haven't I? It'd be rude not to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I've had to avoid it with this bloody jab. But I've managed the last couple of weeks. I've been managing to have a little bit of ice cream and it stayed down. So I'm working at it, Deb.
That's good.
How are you? Deborah, I can't find the name of that place, but I will next week because
I'm better.
deserve a
Well,
call.
than I was.
But how are you? Are you feeling better now?
As I explained to the doctor last week, it's really hard for me in a minute because I need me painkillers, don't I? I survive on my painkillers, and this sickness means that every time I take my painkillers, they come out.
Yeah,
just can't get my pain under control at the minute. So, but I am much better. I'm getting much better at it, and the move's a lot closer. So that's kept me busy, packing the house up and everything. So I have managed to eat a bit more as well, but I'm not. I'll be honest, I'm not as well as I used to be. I'm gonna have to work on it over the winter.
Yeah,
so
It'll be okay.
Yeah, lots of good food and lots of rest, and I just want to get in a new place and get settled, and then I think
once you've moved, I think you feel a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and I can get into a regular thing. And it's really hard. Normally, I could work at this time with no problem at all, but I'm just like, I can feel my pain. It's like,
yeah.
But we can have a call out for you to tinkly music. So let's everybody try and heal Deb.
No, I'm not a tinkly music kind of gal, Chris.
Just have a quick sniff in chat because it's quite lively in here tonight, isn't it?
Isn't it? There's some cracking people in, haven't we?
Ruby made a comment earlier when we were on about the photographs from the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
She said, do you think those photos could actually be lifelike drawings then photographed? I feel it probably is.
Good point. They're too. That face is too sharp for the 1920s camera because remember they had long exposures for pictures in those days, and it would be they always were a bit fuzzy, and it's a bit like that was it the Covington fairies? Is it the little girls in the fairies?
Oh yeah.
There were two. If that was real, that would have been a bit blurry. Because remember, the cameras in those days, they didn't have modern film. Well, we don't have
brownies.
Well, they were, and they had long exposures. That's why people always look sort of like that because, or sort of, because long exposures. But that's interesting.
Something about his face, though. I don't know. There's something about his face that's just. It's niggling at me. It'll come to me, and I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's here, and I've seen it before, and it's driving me bloody mad. I mentioned that tribe that are like Prince Philip. They think Prince Philip's there.
They're on an island, aren't they? I think it's Caledonian Islands. I think this.
Why did he not go and visit him before he died? The type bugger.
I know.
They're all there waiting for him, like because this big epiphany, and he couldn't even get on the plane and go. He should have done. They should have sent Charles, shouldn't he, or something? But jesting aside, they have a very distinct look. The entire tribe has a very distinct look if you look them up. And there's something about it. It's not that because my mind's not putting it together, but it's something I've seen when I've been working on tribes because I've been looking at how bodies form over generations. So, like the tree climbing ones that I told you about, the feet are very different to ours. Almost monkey-like because he used them to climb the trees. There's an 80-year-old woman there, shot up that tree and got her bananas and shot back down in the amount of time it took me to sit down because she'd done it her entire life. And little 2-year-olds doing the same thing, 30 foot up a tree. But it's normal to them. So their bodies over generations have changed. They're not the same.
That's right. They've actually adapted. It's a bit like I worked with an Indian chap who said that some areas in India, the people have got like cupped hands, where they got so used to drinking water,
right,
eating food, their hands are more cupped
over time.
And I think if you went back in time, so a couple of 100 years, people were a little bit different. For example, if we went back in time, we would be considered. Say we went back, say 150 years. We would be looked on, our vocabulary would be far advanced than what they had. We'd be looked on as really hoity-toity and very educated.
Me and Deb would be looked on as Jezebels. I've got my arms out. We would though, wouldn't we, Deb? We've got makeup on. Yeah. It wasn't the done thing, was it, 200 years ago? I did a psychic case once, Grace, and this is true. And she said to me, I might have already mentioned this, why have you got man's pants on? How do you piss? And that was what she took from it. She looked at me and she wanted to know if I was ill because of the colour of my hair and stuff. And I just remember thinking it must have been so different for her back then. You know, women would not have wore trousers, would they? They'd probably been burned at the stake back then, Chris, in all honesty.
Well, women only started wearing trousers in the 1950s or 60s.
That's what I mean. So that was the first thing she said to me was, why are you wearing men's clothes?
Yeah.
You know, that
also
was...
tanned. Victorian women were white.
Yeah.
To be tanned showed that you were a labourer.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And she's
Not a woman or something like that.
And my hair's not done. So at the time, I've just got my hair in a ponytail, and she's like, "Are you ill?" I think she meant I wasn't very presentable.
Yeah.
I didn't take much time with my appearance, you know. Unfortunately, at the time, her murderer whacked me on the back of the head, and I ended up on my knees in the mud. But that sometimes happens on a psychic outing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about that haunted house in Sandy in Bedfordshire, which is a particularly haunted place? Sandy is a weird
I've heard that, yeah.
And about the little girl that saw the lady with the big eyes that sat in the corners.
No.
And it was a BBC sound engineer. He lived there, and my brother-in-law worked at the BBC in their technical department or whatever, and he moved to Sandy with his wife and a child, and they found in the morning she's in this little cot. Things have been moved around the room.
Yeah.
And the little girl started singing Victorian tunes that she could never have known anyway.
Yeah.
And they said, "Where do you get these tunes from?" She's the lady with the big eyes that sits in the corner.
Oh.
So they got a psychic in, and the psychic said, "Don't worry, it's friendly. It won't harm the child. Just let it be. She's a woman, the spirit of a woman that loved children. She's got no harm." And they did. They left it. And eventually, I don't know what happened, but you think about it, it must have been a bit creepy for a little girl to say, "I've seen the lady with the big eyes that sits in the corner." But
I've taken so many reports like that all over the world, Chris. Some of them almost think, am I reading the same one? And you have to go back and check because they're so similar. And some of them go quite dark quite quickly. Others not. Others, it's this imaginary friend. They told it's an imaginary friend, and then it goes away because they stop believing in it. You know, but in some of them, it's something else presented as that child, so it can entice you in, kind of thing. But even back when we didn't have an internet, back in the day when we didn't all speak to each other, every civilization had that child, that giggling, not the Victorian child, but you know what I mean, this giggling child outside where people would get lost in the marshes or in the woods because they'd be out looking for this child that they could hear, and every time they got near it, it would move further off. We still get those reports to this day. Oh, I think we've got a truck.
Oh, we got there it is. Whoa,
don't worry about it. That's my other side. That's the OnlyFans side.
Love that. Best. Oh, very nice. Yes.
Better get the feet out.
Yeah, so I think we better zoom up with it. Thank you,
I'll pay the mortgage, Deb.
All gone.
All my two worlds have just collided.
Ancient rubies come out. One here. Was it? If some people are more surrounded by trees, the air quality is more pure and healthy.
She's right.
That is 100%.
I've seen an experiment. I've seen an experiment, Chris, where they planted trees in a field and plants in the field, plants in the woods, and plants in a very negative person's garden and a very positive person's garden. And the positive and the woodland side grew at least twice to the other side. So they did the experiment again, and they gave these plants to say 5 very negative, no, it's futile type people, and very positive. And the plants that were surrounded by positivity grew more. Plants are a living, breathing thing. They're like us, aren't they? I would agree with Ruby on that 100%. Children do it. The minute you take children in the woods, they turn into little sprites. They're climbing, they're running about.
Yeah.
Even kids that have never been in the woods before, you put them in a woodland situation and it's excitement, you know. That's
they're automatically happy as well.
Yeah, that's
I find that anything. See, I've got this phobia about cities. I can't stay in cities. Yes, I used to work in London. I hated it. At the end of the day, you know, by the time to go home, I didn't mess around. I got home because I really can't stand built-up areas. And
we have a neighbour. We have 2 neighbours, Deb. They live together, a couple, And people know me and Mark. The minute I'm off and we don't have time, we head up to it. We go uphill. So I'm either horse riding or we're up in the hills on the moor. They absolutely love the city. So when they see them, they get the bus into the town centre and they sit outside KFC all day and they just watch people. That's my idea of a nightmare, an abject nightmare. But today, my life is an abject night. It's too quiet here for them, so they go and sit in the middle of the town.
Yeah.
And I think the crackers me every time we drive past them. Me and Mark go, "Oh, they're there again," you know, like just can't get it. But they wouldn't understand me. What do they think? Why would you go all the way up there for solitude? That's what I go.
Since I was a kid, if my parents took me to London, I'd get about 3 days of depression afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an interesting one from Space Cadet Lottie.
I would agree with that.
I believe the plant is the most intelligent being in creation, followed by the animal being.
I would
Plus,
agree.
the least intelligent is the human being.
I would agree 100%.
That is interesting. And also, did you know they found that trees talk to each other?
I was just going to say that trees have a language. They know what weather's coming before us humans know.
Yeah.
Trees know exactly when to pull sap up from the ground. They know if there's going to be a frost a week or two in front. How do they know that? They know if it's going to be bad weather, they will curl their leaves in a good 10 days before the storm. All these things we used to know. Like I said to me the other day, said to Mark, which way south? And he went, I don't know. And I went, look at the trees. And he just looked at me. I was puzzled and I said, the thickest side of the trees points south. But it's in the sun all the time. And he went, I didn't know that.
The Gara tribe. There's that tribe that actually maps the solar system.
Yeah.
And there's no way they could have known because they don't have telescopes. Spot on. Yes, trees communicate, and I like what was that? And I like living brain cells. Yes,
they are.
I agree with you there. And I think that when you look at trees, I mean, I love trees, but the trouble is, I was in the park the other day, Cedars Park on Sunday, and they're really going for a hard time with this hot weather. The leaves are all coming off, and all sort of, you know.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Trees are very resilient. They will curl their leaves in so they don't scorch in the sun. You know, they're really, really clever. And it astounded me when I started learning about them because I wanted to know. I think it's more important to look for food stuff and resources than it is to look for stick figures because we can't prove that the stick figures are anything to do with Bigfoot. But if they're animalistic, they've got to be eating. They've got to be areas where they're catching food. So I got really interested in plants and trees and things like that. There's just so much that we get from trees that we just don't realise. People just don't know that they are a commodity, you know?
Look at Hachi, what said the juice from a silver birch
tree. I'm going to mention that. Talk about
good properties.
Natural Lucasade. You tap that tree, any of the poplars, any of the cottonwoods, you tap it in spring and it'll fill a 5-gallon bucket. And you can either drink it as an isotonic drink or you can boil it down and make maple syrup. Yeah. Sycamore. There's lots of them. And people don't realise. And all you got to do is tap a tiny, you can do it with a nail. You can tap a nail into the tree. And as soon as you see a little bit of liquid, or hang your bucket on it and go. And go back the next day and it'll fill half your bucket up.
That's what we do with maple trees. It's get the maple syrup.
Yeah, that's exactly how you get it. And we don't realise that we have that resource here in the UK. It's natural sugar. It's not bad for you like refined sugar is. You know?
I agree with you. And also, I go blackberrying occasionally.
Oh, yeah, I do. I'm
the only one doing it. There's nobody else around doing it.
That's it. I know where there's 3 apple trees. I actually said to Mark today, because we're moving, I'm going to forage early and put it in freezer.
Yeah.
And then when winter comes, I've already got it because I don't know I don't know any food stuff's up there. I've got to go and learn it all, haven't I?
But I know blackberries are early this year. Because of this
everything's
weather.
Wrong. Yeah, everything's wrong this year, Chris.
Normally it's September, but now it's a lot earlier. And my blackberries, and
they're tiny and dry.
Very dry and tiny, yes.
Yeah, that's it. I'm on my second crop. We're on our second crop because it went really warm for a bit, then cold. And it tricked them into thinking it were here. And then they all died off. And now we're on second crop and they're like raisins.
That's right.
But no water whatsoever. The reservoir's got about an inch of water in them.
I'm hoping to do a program on this on self-sufficiency with survivors, but you're very much into it as well, because I've been looking at well, it's not really hydroponics, it's sort of hydroponics, where I can't grow brassicas in my garden because of slugs and the snails have them.
Yeah.
I've tried everything. Eggshells, copper wire, they're bloody clever, snails and slugs.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is get a pipe and drill holes in it
And do it that way.
things and grow cabbages and have water, a solar water pump that pumps water around inside a greenhouse, you see.
Yeah.
And the trouble with that is apparently you don't get all the nutrients. I mean, I'm going to have organic stuff in the water, but the trouble is I'd rather have a cabbage like that and buy one from the shop, because at least I know what's gone into it.
Yes.
And it might not have all the nutrients, but at least the bleeding slugs and snails haven't got at it.
You need to do hugel culture. Hugel culture. You put a rotten log, and then you want some like hay or straw. You put your soil on top of that, and there are certain plants that repel slugs and snails. Learn what they are and plant them at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you can go all day long. I can find out which ones they are for you, and you just plant them.
Well, if you could get money for slugs and snails, I'll be a multi-millionaire by now.
Every time you turn the garden, you're spreading thousands of eggs. If it's brown, chop it down. If it's black, put it back. Black slugs are actually really good for your garden.
And brown ones.
The brown ones, cut them in half with scissors, get rid of them.
Wood salt oxidise for a year in the soil.
That's good. Use your wood ash. They'll not cross wood ash, Chris. They won't cross it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, ants won't cross it either. But honestly, if you can make your mound rather than a flat garden, if you can mound it and put the plants along the bottom that the slugs will not cross, some companion plants, your other plants will do far better. Far.
Get a pet hedgehog. Oh yes.
Yeah, that's like
hedgehog. Because I actually worked on a project many years ago where the firm that supplied the doors to St Tiddywinkles, which is is it in Oxfordshire? It's the Hedgehog Hospital.
Yeah.
Where they
if we didn't have roads, you wouldn't have a slug problem, because we would have so many hedgehogs in the UK, right, that you wouldn't have a slug problem. Less than 80%. It's like over 80% of them are dead, aren't they, within the year? Very low numbers of survival. If we didn't have bloody roads, they'd be all over the place eating all the slugs. We wouldn't have to worry about it.
Where I live, I haven't seen a hedgehog for years.
Naturally
around. But I really love hedgehogs. I think they're super little fellas. And apparently you should never give them milk.
Chris, put your email up, because there's lots of people in the comments giving you really good advice on slugs. Please. Pop your email up there and email him and tell him.
Yes, I'm. What is it? I'm Eric von Essex at fochamhall.com.
Right.
Fochamhallradio.com. Sorry.
Can we not get it in the comments? Sorry.
Hang on. I think I might have it here somewhere.
I was up the other night, Deb, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm looking out the front. So out the front's like a normal housing estate. Out the back, fields and farms. And I thought I saw a rat move between the wheelie bins, and I thought, because I'm not keen on him. And then I thought, that's not a rat. And when I looked, it was an hedgehog. So I'm there watching it. People must have thought it was an absolute nut job. Probably middle at night. And I'm watching it do each neighbour's as he cleaned up and went into the next one. And I thought, how long have you been doing that? And I didn't know you were there. Yeah. I'm amazed, because if Mark knew, there'd be dog food and cat food out there for it, wouldn't there?
Oh,
what are the cats going to do when we move, Jeff? What are the cats going to do when we move? I said to him, there'll be no one here giving a catnip. They'll all turn up and there'll be nobody. But the saddest tale is, and I've not told anyone yet, every day, and we don't know how long it's been happening for, a little white van pulls up outside, and this tiny baby girl gets up and she looks at the gnomes like that, really, really excited. And she goes back down and her dad drives her off. I said to Mark, what am I going to do? She's going to turn up one day and all the gnomes will be gone. What am I going to do? I know. I might have to stage him. Leaving the garden over time. Honestly, the van pulls up and she goes, She just looks at me gnomes and then goes.
What about a big sign saying goodbye? We're moving or something like that.
Yeah, get a gnome sign.
Yeah. But you know, it's
a gnome. I could put a gnome there, but please take me on it, couldn't I? We are moving, please take me. I might do that then. So she can have a gnome. A dad can like at least warn her that we're not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Somebody told me something on Sunday. What people are doing now, they're putting words on rocks where they are.
Yeah.
So you would say, I don't know, Leeds or Bristol or somewhere. And if you see a rock like that, you pick it up and you replace it with a rock from where you live.
Yeah.
And people see how far these rocks move. I think someone in Cornwall might have got one from Aberdeen or something.
Yeah.
I did it a while ago.
Nice idea, isn't it? Rocks around the world.
Yeah.
I think it's lovely, yeah. They do it where I am on the Barrow. We find them down there.
Yeah.
And whoever does them down there, she always puts a name on them, and you just go on Facebook and say where you found it. And she says, "Oh, go and hide it somewhere else for me."
Yeah.
So it's always the same rock that you find, like. But the kids must love it, you know. They must absolutely love it. Anything that gets them in the woods, anything that entices them in, I'm all for. Yeah, we tried doing a witch walk. So what we wanted to do was they do a witch walk anyway, but we wanted to make a green man walk so that the kids could go around the woodlands and identify certain things, like say an oak leaf, or you know, so they could tick it off on the pad as they went round. And we put green men around the woodlands, and we suggested it to the council, and they wanted £2,200 for a license. It's not their land, they don't own it, but health and safety wise, you have to have this license. The children would be coming with their parents and walking with their parents. No food or drink was on. It was just something to do in the woodland in the holidays. And when it's late October, there's nothing for them to do, is there? Council were having none of it. And I just thought, oh, you're awful. You absolutely you want me to go and pay and take them to some wacky warehouse or something where everyone's drinking. I'd much rather have them out in the woods, you know, finding... Can you find a butterfly? You know, can you find and just get interested? Yeah. Just no interest whatsoever, Deb. It was like, no, you need a license for that. And you think, well, no wonder, you know, no wonder that kids. There was 8. What was it? Only 8 children in a class of 40 could identify a cow.
I know.
Other than a black and white one. So you put a different cow in front of them, they didn't know it was a cow. Because they only identify them from school books. They haven't actually seen them in the wild. I can't get my head around that.
Well, that's it. I mean, actually, there was a good one, was it? Someone's space was that said, I feed hedgehogs, families, mealworms at home.
Yeah.
When I build fences at work, I leave gaps for them to go through gardens.
He's my hero. He is my hero. I say that all the time. Why can't people just have a little... But all these concrete bottoms, they can't get through into your garden. So these people putting slug pellets down, and if they just had a way into the garden, they'd eat all those slugs for you. You know,
my attitude is nature looks after itself. Now, for example, there was field mice in my shed.
Yeah.
So what I did, I wouldn't put poison down or anything like that. I think that's cruel. I sort of psychologically told them to please go. And then I put some peppermint tea bags.
Just what you don't like
and I liked peppermint tea bags, and they took the in and went. But I didn't kill them. And they put a slug pub down. Well, all right, slugs are a pest. I mean, we got leopard slugs. Have you seen leopard slugs?
Yeah,
they're horrible. I saw them for the first time a couple of years ago. They're everywhere.
Got to get rid of them. You've got to.
Yeah.
Because they're eating our natural slugs that are used to our natural plants.
Where do they come from? Are they from New Zealand or somewhere? I don't know.
Plants, don't they, or something? I really, really do. I think you get a lot of indigenous animals that are in the UK, like that lobster, not the lobster, the crayfish that's killing all our crayfish. They're actually on the kill list. You can take them wherever you want, but people don't know how to trap crayfish in the UK. It's a dying art, you see. So. I don't know. I mean, I'm not for slug pellets. I had the same argument with my dad year in, year out. I get so mad at my dad for putting slug pellets down.
Yeah.
But he was old school, and I just used to say to him, Dad, you can't do that because birds or something will eat that slug and then they'll die. And I couldn't get it. It was one of the things that we argued about backwards and forwards. And I still won't have slug pellets. I live in a new build, and I don't know how it happens, but slugs come in my front door.
Yep.
You say, how do you know? You go downstairs and you see that slime thing in the morning. Yeah. So there must be something about those doors that is allowing these slugs to come in. There's no, you know, like you have like a trap on your door, Deb.
Yep.
It's not. It's just there's nothing there. It's just a flat door. So they must be able to come underneath.
Yeah.
Well,
Little sods.
I know.
They're
Like,
quite squeezy though.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But,
But they really are vile. There's something about sods that really are.
the women who put them on the face.
There is.
Have you, women who pay to have them on the face.
Oh no.
Look,
Yeah. No, I'd rather have a few wrinkles and have a slug.
Get a bit of a joke on
Up in the
that.
morning, you think, right, what do I need to do? Where's my slug? Let me just give it up. So I'd say no, it's not.
those slugs and snails must be the most repulsive of the lot.
See, I like
and there's a snail in Africa.
Snails are
kills
cute.
people. That apparently it lays
Yeah.
a poison or something, which is bloody
Get your own
dangerous.
throat, Chris. They jump and get you around. They do them killer thing. They jump and get you around the throat. That's how they kill. I was once working in the shop, Deb, in the town centre, and a squirrel got in the shop without thinking. You're thinking all squirrels are really nice and cuddly, don't you? I went over, so I don't know why I did it. I went to grab it, and he went, and just turned to this vampire thing and jumped at me, and I screamed and ran.
Yeah.
And all my mate working, screamed and ran. I thought it was just going to go, all right, let me just carry you outside, Mr. Squirrel. Yeah.
No, you don't.
He tried to kill me.
Oh, rats will be very aggressive if you call her a rat.
Oh, can't do that.
They really are. But no, I get field mice. But the trouble is, next door but one, the field, they're building on it. So
No, it's so
yeah,
sad.
there we go.
It really is. I saved our wood by I knew that owl that was in that wood was rare. And it took me ages to find out where you reported it to, but I did. And that stopped them building there. But all they've done is they've just gone a mile down the road and they're building on that field now, you know. So eventually,
It's a beautiful field. And now they're putting houses on it. And
for commuters.
well, that's right. And I'm sitting on my looking at the computer the other day, and it's going boom, 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 as they're pole driving. Now, I don't know where the muntjacks are going to go. I mean, when I first came here, saw lizards, adders, grass snakes, muntjacks.
Habitat, tiny little environments.
They're all going, and to me, it's raping.
It's exactly what it's doing.
It's raping the earth, because quite honestly, we don't need these houses. You know, we really do not need them if we had people in control that were for the people they're supposed to represent.
Yes.
Where I live, I'll be honest with you, where I live, 20 years ago, nobody wanted to come here because there was nothing out here. There was no shops, there was nothing. So you couldn't give the houses away, in all honesty. And we were really lucky, and that's how we ended up here. Now, I can't afford a house here, neither can my children, simply because we are on along the A666, East Lancashire Road, and the M6. So it's really, really easy to get to anywhere from my town. So now we have shopping centres and we have Lidl's and Aldi's and all sorts, Costa's going up. They knocked down an entire field of green pine trees, probably half a mile long, that's been there forever, put a bloody pub on it and called it Pine Tree Farm. So I'm ready for throwing things through the window. I'm so annoyed at them, Chris. Yeah. And all it is because of this bloody park and ride. And it's so people can park the car and then go and commute to their job and come back. But what we've got here is there's certain rules when you live on the edge of the countryside. There's certain things that you don't do.
I'm on the edge, yes.
They come from town and don't realise they've got the dogs off lead and they're legging it about and it's lambing. They've got the kids in the field, you know, just stuff that you're seeing and you think it's just they don't know. They're not educated because they're not from round here. And just sometimes it causes a lot of trouble. I've been up on arse and I've had dogs running at me.
Neighbours near me, there was a woman, she was from South London, and her kids got into a field, blinded a horse in one eye. and was riding around the horse, and the farmer got the police involved. The woman said, if he wouldn't have had these horses there, my kids wouldn't want to play with them. It's his fault.
See,
And that was actually her attitude, was if they were, and then when their kids vandalised things, it was, well, if the person wouldn't have had that there, they wouldn't have wanted to. And I had very similar.
There's nothing wrong with giving a kid an ear warmer. I don't care who you are. There's nothing wrong with getting your child in a corner and saying, you pick that rubbish up and you put it in the car, and when we get home, it goes in the bin at home. Yeah. I go up on the moor and I retrieve black bags full of McDonald's and Costa crap. Because they go to McDonald's and they drive up at the moor and they sit there and they go, isn't it lovely? And they take loads of photos of the sunset and they throw all the shit on the ground and then they drive off.
That's right. At the back of my garden, there's a wall, and it's full of shitty McDonald's. I'm always picking it up. But what annoys me is their attitude is that, oh, well, if you didn't have a garden there, I wouldn't want to throw stuff.
Somebody will pick it up for me. See, I don't know what other people's lives are like. So when I was born, there wasn't another me that picked up after me. I'm sure when Deb was born, there wasn't another Deb that picked up after her. So I don't understand it. I think, why, A, would you drive up and sit in your bloody car to look at the sunset, get out and walk? Yeah. And B, you're eating it in your car. There's no point should it go out the window.
Yeah.
You're in your car, put everything back in the McDonald's bag, and when you drive past a bin, put it in the bin. That's just common sense. And B, this is horse fields. So if you're leaving crap like that out, the horse is probably going to have a munch of it. And then that farmer's got a vet bill. And I don't care who you are, vet bills for horses are not cheap. And it's just simple things like that. I found entire canisters of laughing gas.
Yep.
And the balloons have been scattered across the moor because they don't want the balloons, they want the gas.
Yep.
Me and Mark were up the other night, and we're talking narrow farm roads, Chris. And what we're doing is we're going up into the mountains, so the farm roads are getting smaller and smaller, and the cliffs are unbelievable. So we're coming round angles there, one road track, and this car's coming the opposite way, full of lads, all on laughing gas while they're driving in the dark.
God.
No lights on.
That's unbelievable. But it's happening all over the place. But I think that the real fact of the matter is people have got no self-respect. That's what's gone. Because my granddad used to say, we got to have self-respect. And they don't have self-respect because...
Behave outside as you would in the house. It's really, really easy. Just behave outside as you do in your house.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Don't crap at the side of you when you've eaten. No, you don't put it in the bin.
Dog walkers pick up that poo in a plastic bag and throw it in a tree.
Yeah.
Leave it. If you don't want to pick it up, leave it on the ground. The rain will take it away and it will become fertilizer. Yeah. What you've done is you forensically saved it for the rest of its life by chucking it in a bag and throwing it in a tree, or throwing it on the ground.
No, what they do, they wear a plastic bag and they tie it to the branches of the tree where I live. But the only time I go into a McDonald's is to use their lavatory. And that's enough. The stench of the place gets on my nose. There's a McDonald's smell. When you come out, you can still smell it on your clothing, you know. But that really, you know, they've got nice cars. Was normally very, very cramped in their cars, you know. But it's the only time I use a McDonald's is for their cars, and that's it.
Comment there. I've never been on an horse that wanted to go in a pub, Sebastian, but I'll try it if you want me to try. Need me to try it, I'll give it a go. I'll go to Shepherd's Rest. That's at the bottom of George's Lane. He might let me in. I don't know.
But no, that you don't get the East End attitude. It's an East End attitude. That is, I mean, when I was a kid, we had a house. I mean, a pond, and it was actually an old air raid shelter that my dad filled with water, and it was a fish pond. Yeah. And we had the neighbours from hell move next door, and the kids threw paint tins or anything in the pond and killed the fish. And when my parents complained, the woman said, well, if you didn't have a pond there, they wouldn't want to throw stuff in it, would they? Your fault. And that is right. It is your fault for having a pond there. And then her kids then broke into an elderly couple's garden, smashed up their greenhouse, everything. And the couple actually died soon after. So I think they was in shock.
I wouldn't have skin on me back.
If you wouldn't have had a nice greenhouse and a nice garden, my kids wouldn't want to play in it, would they? So why do you have that? It's his fault. See,
I don't know if it's where we live. When he was growing up,
You know,
all of when we lived in blocks, when we were growing up, because we lived in flats and blocks, so there's always like communal stairs, isn't there? But when I grew up, each one of those ladies had a week to do the stairs. So she'd do it one week, she'd do it week after, she'd do it week after. And there was always that she didn't do it as good as us kind of thing going on. But it was a community, so you helped each other. Do you get what I mean? So if you threw rubbish outside, it affected everybody in that block. It looked really bad. And I think we've lost that as well. We don't have those women anymore who scrub the doorstep.
No,
You know, stay and
their generation that's gone, haven't they?
yeah. And I think when you have a community like that, I think you get less. The saddest thing I see, and Jo will probably understand because she's in a situation to me, is the fly tipping.
Yeah.
People will come from the town here and they will just jump on the farm ground and just go. And you think, who do you think is going to come and get it?
Oh, it's round here. That's very, very common. Fly tipping, very common. But
Yeah, there's a lay-by just here, just at the back of the farm. And it's there for the lorry drivers to have a rest stop. That's what it's there for. But some days they can't get in it because it's just full. Some vans just pulled up and just tipped it all out and just gone. You know, that farm has to pay to have that removed.
Well, I was actually behind my gate. I went out the gate, and there's like a lane at the top of my garden, and I was just I just turned around and suddenly something crashed. Somebody actually literally had the cheek to throw a beer can out of their car as I drove past. It's just unbelievable.
It is,
anyway, isn't it amazing how we've gone from Percy, was it Colonel Percy Fawcett in the Amazon jungle through to McDonald's? Now, did he discover the origins of McDonald's hamburgers, or what was in them?
If he did, I'm suing him because I'm sick of seeing these rappers outside my house.
You'd have to find him in a jungle first, and I think he's let himself go a bit after 1925. I think he's not much left. He's decomposing, I think, probably at the moment.
Joe did well though. Joe found some decent information on him, so I'll send those newspaper reports probably tomorrow now because it's getting on a bit in it. I'll send them tomorrow, and you can have a read through them. Then we can have a look and see. I'm sure they'll enjoy them because even I've not looked at all of them. There's so many of them that what I'm trying to get is they all describe almost similar, but some of them have really, really strange. So, like in one set of Wildman, I remember the women had beards, so the men and the women had a beard. And these are actually like newspaper reports that have been put out there probably in the early 1910 and upwards to about the 40s. So I thought they might be useful and we could do a show around him and Chris could share them on the screen.
Oh, that would be brilliant. And also, it would be in Australia, they'd know a lot about the yowie.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yowie out there. But the thing is that these Bigfoot sightings are increasing, I believe.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
But that picture that fascinates me that I showed earlier because I personally think it's a fake because it's too good.
I'm not ready to call it yet. I'm not going to call it yet.
And the reason why it's too sharp, and I think if we show Shannon in America, she's a photographic expert.
Yeah, she'll do it.
On it. And, I mean, when man successfully landed on Hollywood. I mean, one small step for bullshit, one giant leap for world bullshit. So there we go. Anyway,
I'm going to go get myself a cuppa. I need a cup of tea.
I think we better wind that up now.
Yeah.
Now, before we go, I'm still planning this Thursday show. Not this. I said it was going to be this Thursday, but unfortunately, we've been very, very busy. Monday show will still continue, but we're looking at the Thursday show, Health and Happiness show, which is going to have all kinds of things like we were talking about. Trees that you can, natural health, natural things. And I'm hoping to get Dawn and David on, Miles on, and people like that. But the thing is, the subject matter we're talking about can't speak about on
mainstream. Well, not mainstream, but
mainstream. Now, I've been looking at Rumble, a Rumble in the Jungle, and there's loads of different places. And I did think about doing radio. So I'm going to have a meeting with Miles and might include yourselves and we just look at all the options and say, right, we'll go by that one or whatever. Because people are saying, oh, you use Odyssey or DTube and Brightly-on. There's a new one now, Brighty-on, things like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, will people migrate to it? Because they don't seem to migrate to my BitChute channel. I mean, I'm lucky if I get 100 people look on BitChute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm saying I just stick with YouTube. If anyone's out there and they're not doing anything Saturday at 8, I'm normally on. I have a bit of a chat going on at the side of mine.
Oh,
Yeah.
so by the way, I got an apology to make. I said I was going to say hello on Friday, but I got abducted by aliens, so I couldn't. And I was busy getting a probe out my arse. So I'm sorry about that. I'm very
mentioned his ass.
No, I bleeding forgot, didn't I? I was sitting there, I went to bed, I was laying in bed thinking, oh bugger, I forgot all about.
Honestly.
But I remember this Friday. Sorry about that. And I make sure there's not a probe up there, so I can, you know. Anyway, thanks, Deb, both Debs for coming on. Thanks for doing all the chat, and don't worry, I'll read everybody's message in chat. So thank you very much. It's very kind.
Thank you.
And also, if you want to buy us a cup of coffee, because I've only got a bit selfish about it. I've only got myself down there, but Deb's going to be adding on there.
Yes.
A few other people are going to be adding on there. So whoever you like, you know, you buy us a cup of coffee. But if you buy both of us a cup of coffee, then I'll spare it. But we don't physically buy a cup of coffee. It's just put $5 in or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's what, $6 or something, I think, in
There's
America.
Just before we go, there's a question from V. He's asked it a couple of weeks running now. How do we find you on BitChute? You don't come up in the search.
Well, the link is below here. You just press on the link. It's so simple.
No, that don't come up for everybody. It only comes up for certain people. There are some devices that cannot see it. Is it Eric von Essex?
Eric von Essex. Just put Eric von Essex on BitChute, and it should come up. But it's the worst search you could ever wish to find on BitChute.
Depends on what device you're on. That's the problem. I sometimes get it. If I'm on one of my phones, I can't actually read the description. It won't let me open it or anything.
No,
so I have to go to the laptop and do it. So yes, you might not be able to find it because of that.
Possibly.
But yeah, Eric von Essex, Deb's put it up for you there.
Oh, that's ever so kind. Because the thing is that I didn't realise that, but the link is below if you've got problems. Yes. You know. And that kind. Thanks, Space Cadet Lottie. That's nice. That is.
Ancient
Ruby. Thank you all, and love to you all. We'll be sending healing. Oh, that's
and
lovely.
then Ralph, great show, Chris, Deb, and Deb.
Oh, bless you all. Isn't that nice? That's lovely. That is. So let's send healing to the world and all that. That's all that. And also, not forgetting, on his own, one lone, very brave man, John in Siam, who put some fantastic comments on my BitChute channel because he can't write comments on YouTube where he is.
Right.
And no, because I got censorship over there.
Oh,
so
God, yeah.
And I've tried to reply to his comments on YouTube, and it just goes. And I did a really long comment once. I pressed publish, it just went and disappeared. But you can do it okay on BitChute. So please read his comments on BitChute. They're very, very. And again, I'm sorry if you can't. And I mean, there's a link below here on my BitChute channel, and I do have shows on there that you don't see on YouTube for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But I'm sorry if the browser you're using doesn't link to the BitChute. But if you put Eric von Essex in, it should show. And remember, put the old thumbs up and ding the bell and all that. And we'll see you the same time, same place next week. And whatever happens, have a laugh. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, Deb. Thanks, everybody in chat. Night.
Night.